ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh yeah, no.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So, Catherine, how has Luge Camp been for your son? I've seen some very snowy pictures, so we know how the weather's been. But how's he doing with his Luge Camp?
He is doing really well. Unfortunately, they were not able to actually luge the first day we missed. He missed because we were traveling, because we had to leave a little later than the other kids because of hockey. So, and then once we got here, the first full day we were here, it started to snow. So they were able to get in a couple of runs on that first day, but then they had to stop because they couldn't luge with snow blowing in their face. Even though the track is covered, it's still exposed enough to make it so they couldn't actually see what they were doing. So we don't want that.
No.
So for 2 days, they couldn't actually get out on the track. They had them doing other things though, and he's just having a great time.
Aw, that's neat.
He loves it.
So he's like in a dorm and you're in a hotel?
Right.
And are you making friends with the other luge moms, or are you just doing your own thing?
I'm mostly doing my own thing, but I have gone to watch, and then, when you go watch, you bump into people. And one of the parents from when we were here before is here again and is kind of the den mother for all the lugers. So bless her, because she has been supervising them like 24/7
Oh, wow.
this whole time.
That's great.
Including, taking them where they need to go in this big van and supervising their study hall. So, and she's been taking pictures and sending videos. So she's been great. We appreciate
Wow.
That's
that.
neat.
Yeah.
Very cool. And your son, of course, is still having a great time.
Oh yeah, he loves it. So I think we might be stuck with this for the foreseeable future.
Well, it seems like a really fun independence type thing for him.
Yeah.
For a kid his age. It's really is like camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
That's
we'll
neat.
see how well the independence does on the actually getting his schoolwork done.
There's always a downside, isn't there?
That will be the big test.
Well, this seems like about the right time to say hello and welcome to Parenting Roundabout, a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I'm Terry Morrow, and with me today are Nicole Eridix.
Hello.
And Catherine Haleko.
Hi there.
Today on the podcast, we're going to play a few rounds of this or that on our Friday speed round. We're going to shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup and do some shameless self-promotion. But first, a viral rant caught our eye because, we love a good rant. And in this case, we get a chance to rant about schools, right?
Right.
Catherine?
Yeah, so there was a mother in Georgia who went to an event at her son's school, and the bathroom was so dirty and lacking in basics like soap and doors on the stalls. She was so appalled that she got on Facebook Live to tell the world all about it. Now, I actually remember as a kid having to use bathrooms that didn't have doors.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know if it was considered like a safety thing or what, but
Yeah.
Anyway, so friends, if you were broadcasting live from your child's school on Facebook, what would you be saying, Nicole?
Wow. Well, from my understanding, my daughter's high school is one of the oldest high schools in California, so you can imagine the state it is in. Actually, most areas of the school are in working condition, but I hear from my daughter that other areas, like the bathroom, are not in good shape. And actually, what really upsets me most about that school is the lack of change rooms for the kids when they're doing sports. My daughter, who did tennis for several years, they would have to change out in these bathrooms that, didn't, there's no space to put your stuff. There's no locker, so you have to carry everything with you all day.
Yeah.
And so it just presents lots of unique challenges. My son, who played water polo for years in high school, they had a portable, like a container, like, one of those shipping containers.
Like a trailer?
Yeah. That was their space to change out in. And once again, no lockers, things were constantly getting stolen. It was just very poorly equipped in kind of like those areas. So
they have a pool, but they don't have a place to change or shower when you use the pool.
Well, there's an outdoor shower, but there's no. So the pools are outdoors.
Right.
So there's 2 pools that are outdoors, and then on the pool decks there's 2 shipping containers that are placed where the kids go in, girls and boys separately, and get changed and put all of their belongings. There's no, locker, as I said. There's no privacy. And when it's 100 degrees out, can you imagine what it's like inside there?
Yeah.
So it's really bad in terms of facilities. And like I said, the same with my daughter in tennis. She has to carry, when it's tennis season, she had to carry her big tennis backpack around with her and her tennis rackets and shoes. And she was just loaded to the hilt, and then was changing out in one of the old grotty bathrooms. So just, the lack of those types of facilities is my big issue.
That's a problem. I'm surprised that they don't. It's just because the building is so old. Is it like overcrowded, and that's why they've had to repurpose that space?
Yeah, I believe so. It's obviously there's some space issues. There's some student population issues. Some of the facilities are too old. They've actually been condemned. I know that the tennis courts, the tennis courts actually did have change rooms, their own change rooms and bathrooms up until, before my daughter's time, though. They've been shut down. So it's just this dilapidated old building near the tennis courts that have been shut down. So, they're just, it's not a priority in their budget.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, guess who has the change rooms and the weight room and the bathrooms next to their playing area? The football team.
Oh, the football team. Yeah, you don't mess with the football team.
No, apparently not.
Oh man, my pet peeve that I would have ranted about on Facebook Live at the time, which it wasn't an option at the time, I don't think. Well, Facebook Live definitely wasn't an option. I can't remember if social media was big then, but when my daughter was in middle school, our district was having a big argument about whether the schools were too crowded, which they were. And whether they should should build a new school, which there was tons of resistance to. And at that time, my daughter had resource room classes in a converted closet, in a kitchen that had once been a home ec class, but they'd canceled the home ec. So they're sitting on big stools at a counter being taught English. Nice. And in the middle of the open library, which is where you want to be when you're being taught something that's difficult for you. So it was like, how can you say that it's because all the other classrooms were full? There was no other room for it. So they, cleaned out a storage closet and put kids in there. Nice. And, all these and I heard another middle school in our district, they just had a resource room like in a hallway. So I would have been Facebook Living the bleep out of that if they let me in the building, which they probably would not have. But it's like, you're saying you can't build a new school. This is in violation of laws, I'm pretty sure. This isn't right, And I also, while I was there, I would have filmed the IEP team, which was also in a closet. But so this is what overcrowding looks like, people. Cut it out. Classes shouldn't be meeting in the cafeteria while people are cooking things. That was bad.
That was like our music. Remember how at my kids' elementary school they had piano keyboarding classes, but they had no dedicated room, and it was in the lunchroom. So every morning I went and set up keyboards in the lunchroom, and at the end of the morning, I went back and put them all away. And that was definitely happening while food was being cooked. And that was painful. I mean, I understand that they just didn't have a room that they could dedicate to these keyboards. They had to use this multi-purpose room for that multi-purpose, for lunch, for after-school care, for piano keyboards, for art class. Everything was crammed into that one room. But boy, if we could have had, and it sounds like such a first world problem, but if we could have had a room for those keyboards, I mean, we were using, it made for a lot more wear and tear on the keyboard. Yeah. Because you had to set them up and put them away, twice a week. So they'd get banged around pretty easily. Yeah.
Yeah. So. That stuff is what always gets shunted off someplace else. I remember my kids' elementary school, when they were in school there, the physical and occupational therapists had a really big, nice room where they could have things hanging up. They could have all their equipment. There was lots of light. It was a great place to go. We went back to that elementary school to get some services for him later when the school he was going to didn't have anybody. And by that time, the PTs and OTs were working on the stage in the lunchroom behind a curtain in this dark space where there were props from various things. Oh, and we had to there was no room. It was very cramped. It was dark. If there was people having gym, the lunchroom doubled as the gym. So if there's kids playing PE, you had this noise from that. And I also would have liked to publicize because, number one, it stinks for those women to have to work in that environment. Right. How can you get any work done? How can you even think? You can't keep your stuff. You have to, tote your stuff back and forth. And for kids who are, have disabilities and are distractible and, especially at the elementary school age, that's a horrible place for that service. But, unless you happen to be in the school, you would never know that's where your kid is getting PT and OT. Yeah. So
that's the other, there's another issue with our school too, and it just reminded me that actually it's even more concerning for me as a parent than the change rooms, but our school has 2 campuses. So there's a north campus and a south campus. They're separated by a very, very busy road. And every time the kids change classes, so my daughter has a class on a different campus each period. So she's crossing that road every time. Wow. She crosses that road for her different periods. Now they've got crossing guards there, they've got lights there, but man, the cars that speed by, it terrifies me. It will not, it's a disaster waiting to happen. I hate to say it. Yeah. But when you've got 1,000 kids in that crosswalk going, between campuses on a super busy road that, cars have been speeding up to and then braking all of a sudden for the pedestrian light. It freaks me out.
I feel the same way about the road that goes through the parking lot of the high school next to us. I'm amazed no kid has been hit because parents drive through that parking lot to drop their kids off like they're driving on the highway. Oh, I know. They're driving too fast. They're not paying attention. They're kids. I mean, if you're walking, you have to cross to get to the building. You have to cross this road through the parking lot. And it's terrible. I used to watch my kids crossing it from my window with my heart in my throat. I walked my son to school next door for quite a while just because I wanted to be able to put my hand up to those cars. And, it's like I think I've said here before, if you hit a kid, you're going to be late to work. So probably better to just stop. Yeah. But at the same time, I want to say, Nicole, that having kids walk back and forth across a road between 2 buildings of their high school is such a California thing.
Is it?
This part of the country, you would have a covered walkway probably built between the 2. You would never expect people to have to go outside because half of the year that would be really impractical.
I did in high school. We had,
did you?
Yeah, we had the north and south campus too, and and they tended to keep the 2 grades in one and 2 grades in the other to minimize the back and forth. But there were still times where, like all the music classes, let's say, were in the one building. So no matter what grade you were, you had to go across for music and stuff.
Interesting.
So, that was in Pennsylvania.
The buildings here are, well, the classes in the schools here are all outdoors. You access them from outside.
That's what it was when I was at my high school, too. And the schools I've seen here have all been completely self-contained.
They're indoors, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up with. That's how most of the high schools in Canada are, because of the cold, the weather.
I amaze my kids with stories of, and you would open the classroom door and you would be outside and you would cross the strip of grass to get to your next class. What? Tell us how it was, Mama.
Yeah.
and in Wisconsin, it is, one big,
one big building.
Big building and everything. Yeah. They have 8 minutes of passing time because that's how much space they have to traverse.
Wow.
Well,
I think my daughter did a map. She mapped her walk one day.
Yeah.
On the campus, and I think it's close to 2 miles.
Oh my gosh.
Walked. Yeah.
So they should be able to waive gym class then, because they're getting plenty of exercise.
Think.
The choices are gym class, or we will alternate your classrooms between the two buildings.
Exactly. So, hey, speaking of alternating, we could segue into our next topic. I'll start with the first question. Would you prefer to have a high school that's all indoors or a high school that's outdoors?
There you go.
There we go. Yeah.
I really like the outdoor school, even though I recognize that in bad weather it would be impractical. But my kids' all indoor school, the high school, they have a hallway that they call the mosh pit because it's so crowded that it's just one mass of bodies in between classes. So it would be nice to, I like the idea of just being able to walk however you want to walk, outside.
Yeah, that's true.
I like the idea of getting some air and just being able to be outside for a couple of minutes. Obviously, if the climate allows it, I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe it's the schools that I went to, but give me indoors any day.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. In 100-degree weather, forget it. I don't want to be outside. And the bees and eating lunch and all that. The practical.
Yeah, we used to eat lunch outside.
We've established that Nicole is an indoorsy person.
I'm an indoor kind of girl. And I'm not sure we established what we are doing with this segment of the podcast.
Okay.
But I just want to reiterate, in case you missed it, that we are moving now into our Friday speed round, and I'm asking Catherine and Terry some this or that questions.
Okay.
To kind of, bring some liveliness to this part of the podcast.
Give us a little downtime after complaining about the school. We'll do something fun.
Little pick me up. So I'm going to ask a series of. Well, I'm going to give you 2 options, and you tell me which one you prefer.
Okay.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
Okay. So Taco Bell or McDonald's, and you have to choose.
Ooh.
Terry.
Wow, I like them both. Can't I have some of each? I guess if I had to pick between the 2, I would pick McDonald's.
Catherine.
McDonald's because they have ice cream.
Oh, Taco
It's
Bell.
important.
They have little slushies now. I like those.
Not the same.
Okay, I prefer Taco Bell.
I do very much like Taco Bell. I'm having Taco Bell for dinner tonight, as a matter of fact.
That's on the schedule.
Yes, a Friday and Lent cheese quesadilla.
Nice. Okay, here's your next one. Zoo or aquarium? Terry.
Zoo or aquarium? Well, I guess here I will go against my I like outdoor schools thing and say, you know what? Aquariums are indoors and usually air conditioned and dark and somewhat peaceful and maybe a little bit more contained than running after small children at a zoo. So, although I see the merits of both, I will say aquarium.
Good point. Catherine, what are you? Zoo or aquarium type person?
I think I'm going with I still want it to be outdoors, so I am going with zoo.
Good. And I am going to go with Terry, and we're going to go to the aquarium together.
Zoos have better snack bars, though, I think, so I might have to reconsider.
Yeah.
And there's sometimes a train that goes around, and you can just sit on and go. About 2/3 of the way through the
Yeah,
day.
because
Kids, we're taking the train.
There's a lot of walking at zoos.
And we're going to take a few rides around. And I'm going to take a nap. Well, maybe I should change my vote. Okay. What's the next one?
Next one. Okay, so this is kind of building off of the zoo or aquarium question. And
Okay.
I'm going to ask you, do you prefer either a zebra pattern or a cheetah pattern if you had to choose?
Well, I dislike all fake animal patterns pretty much equally, but I think that the zebra could be stripes, so I'll go with that one.
Catherine?
Yes, I like striped things, so I'm going to go with zebra, even though my son, for a while there, was hugely into cheetahs. He loves them. But I'm going to stick with stripes. Zebra.
I think I'll join you and Terry with the zebra pattern.
3 for 3.
3 for
There you
3.
go.
Okay, let's do 2 more. Okay.
Okay.
So the next one is library or museums.
What kind of...
Terry?
These are hard. For myself personally, I would enjoy just going and sitting in a library and being in a quiet place and doing work and maybe grabbing some books off the shelf. If I'm with my kids, museum, because they can't be that quiet for that long. Need a place that's allowing for a little noise.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Catherine?
This is hard. I think museum, but the nice part about a library is that then you can take the experience home with you, right?
That's true. Without the expensive museum gift shop.
That's right. So I might have to pick library for that reason.
Well, you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, I think I would prefer a museum.
Okay.
They have a coffee shop.
That's true. That's, again, you know what? I'm forgetting the snack aspect.
The food.
That, yes, I do like to be able to go someplace and get something to eat, which some libraries have little coffee bars now, I think, but not enough.
Our public library has a whole little snack offering, and it has a Keurig, so you could buy yourself a little pod, and you can get yourself a drink.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to no food in the library?
No, they have. My daughter now loves to go work at the library because you can. She and her friends will go and they can ask for their own little room. And
oh my gosh!
Food and they love it.
That's
and Wi-Fi.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, if you're combining library and snacks, that's a pretty irresistible package right there.
Yeah. Okay, here's your last this or that question.
Okay.
Gold or silver? Terry?
Yeah. I don't know. I always liked silver better, and my mother had a platinum wedding ring that was at least silver in color, and she always said, I should get one like that when I got married, but then I wound up getting gold, and I really like it, and since then I've gotten most gold jewelry, so I guess right now I'm in a gold phase, but I appreciate silver as well. We're seeing through these questions that I am basically a fence-sitting, indecisive person.
I thought that's was kind of the mode of our podcast, though.
My answer to this or that is both.
Both?
This and that.
Catherine, gold or silver?
I think silver for me. I tend to gravitate toward that, at least when it comes to jewelry, and even fixtures. Like when we redid our bathroom, we did like the nickel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would like that for the bathroom.
Yeah.
Fixtures and stuff. So, and like Terry's mom, I have the platinum wedding band going on, so it looks silver.
Cool. Well, all my jewelry came from like the 80s and 90s era, so it's all gold.
Yeah.
So I'm just starting to transition into silver now. So silver is my preference.
Did you guys ever do that thing? There was a thing at one time, maybe in the 70s or 80s, of what season are you, and based on your season you picked what colors you wore and whether you used gold or silver and all this stuff, because I was supposed to be silver based on that.
I was supposed to be silver too.
Oh, I was warm. I was gold.
There
you go. Maybe that was our defining moment.
I'm in the wrong season, though.
Well,
I'm a silver wearing gold. Oh, no.
Uh-oh.
Maybe that's my problem.
we would
Maybe
love
I'd
for
be more decisive if I switched to the right color.
On that note, listeners, why don't you tell us what you prefer? And remember, you can hear a new speed round every Monday through Thursday.
Now we're going to bring you some of the things we have read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. Catherine, what do you have for the Roundabout Roundup this week?
Well, you guys are going to laugh, but I have to mention my favorite bagged salad, which is...
Alrighty.
Oh, I can see this. Okay.
It's from Fresh Express, and it's a sweet kale chopped salad, because I'm going to go talk about kale.
Well, can you hear me moaning and groaning in the background?
It's green stuff. Yeah, there's tons of these salad kits, and they are not all created equal, let me tell you. And this is a good one. So you should look for the right one when you shop for these things, which I'm sure Nicole will be doing.
Of course, I'm on it.
The one you need to get.
Sweet kale.
Ooh.
All right,
Okay.
Nicole, what are you rounding up this week?
Speaking of all things not being created equal, I'm going to talk about an airline. I'm actually shouting out Southwest Airlines this week. I took them. I've actually been using their planes recently for domestic travel, and I love their services. You have a free bag at check-in. They give you snacks. Who gives you snacks on a plane still? Snacks. Their prices are reasonable. Their prices are fair. I have to admit, I don't like the choose your seat option, but I do prepay to have it chosen for me, or to get on at least earlier than everyone else.
Yeah.
And it's just it's very economical. Their fares are affordable, so it's got some great things going for it. So and Wi-Fi. Hello.
Wow.
Wi-Fi.
Nice.
Their planes have Wi-Fi.
Well, Southwest, in the wake of that wonderful endorsement from Nicole, if you'd like to sponsor our podcast, we're open.
Please let us know. Or if you'd like to give me a free ticket somewhere.
Yes, really. We would even accept that.
Yes.
And I guess for my Roundabout Roundup today, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the tea that was going to be getting me through my coffeeless Lenten period. Right. So on that same note, I will talk about an herb tea that is not giving me the caffeine boost, but that still is providing me with beverage happiness in this dark time. And it's, I think it's Celestial Seasonings. It's a cinnamon apple tea, herb tea, and it tastes like hot apple cider, except watered down. But it still gives you that. If you want to drink something that tastes like hot apple cider, but you do not want the calories and sugar that go with hot apple cider, this will give you about the same replica as, Irish breakfast tea does to coffee. It will satisfy the need for something hot and delicious without all the things that you probably don't want. So I will recommend that. I will have the exact name and a link to it on our show notes.
So now we're going to hear from Meghan Corridan, our occupational therapist, who speaks with us about once a month about toys, activities, games, apps, all those fun things that she discovers to use with her clients and with her own daughter, Quinn.
Hi, Megan. We're here today with Meghan Corridan, who is an occupational therapist and mom to a just turned 7-year-old. So happy birthday to Quinn.
Thank you.
So we today are going to talk about some toys and activities that you have found for older kids who need to work on manipulatives and grasp strength, some fine motor skills. You wrote a blog post about this, and you made the point that, it's easy to find these kind of products for little kids, but when they get older, it's a little harder. So you have gone and found a lot of great stuff. So tell us a little bit about what the need is and what these products do for it.
Okay. Well, like you said, when kids are younger, it's easier to sort of manipulate a situation and make it really fun, and they don't realize that they're actually working. And as kids get older, they still they still present with these grasp issues. They might be having a hard time being able to write for long periods of time, still having a hard time manipulating like buttons and snaps and tying their shoes, but they're more aware of it. So they're much more likely to resist doing some of these activities, especially if it looks like it's babyish to them. So something that was once fun to them, now they're too cool for kind of thing. So, I try and make things as fun as possible. And it's really important to me that things that I suggest to parents that they can do at home without, having to be overlooked by their parents, or that they can do with their friends, and it still feels like it's fun. But at the same time, they're improving their grasp strength and being able to manipulate things longer, and hopefully becoming less frustrated at the same time. One of the things, and I will talk from personal experience, Quinn has generally had a very poor grasp on her pencil, which is slightly embarrassing considering I'm an T. But she has said to me, "I'm not one of your kids at work, so stop trying to fix me." Boy. I stopped. Became a problem, and a constant fight, and I just gave up. But she's become obsessed with Legos. A friend of hers started doing Lego sets, and she was like, I want to do that. So now she's doing Legos for hours a day sometimes. And I have to say, her grip has completely resolved itself. Her hands are stronger. She's able to write longer. And at the same time, she's building these awesome things, and her confidence and self-esteem are improving. And so I've always recommended Legos to parents, especially of older kids. And the sets are so much fun that the kids are just motivated to do them. For a really big challenge, I don't know if you have ever seen those nano blocks. They're like micro-sized Legos. Those are a really, really good challenge. They can be frustrating. But kids are so proud of themselves when they can actually finish one of those sets.
Right. We found also the architecture Lego sets. So those are meant to be more advanced, and they're like, Big Ben and the Leaning Tower of Pisa and the Space Needle and that kind of stuff. Big architectural landmarks, and the kids can put those together. My son, who is almost 12, and he's been playing with Legos for years, but he is really interested in those architectural ones.
Yeah, they're great. And in addition to working on the fine motor stuff, it's great for just working on executive functioning skills, following directions, organizing your materials, which are really big issues for a lot of kids. So you can kill many birds with one stone with Lego sets. So I actually have families buy big Lego sets and bring them into work, and I work on them over the course of like a couple months with the kids, and then they get to take them home. And it's great.
And just knowing that they can do so much kind of takes away some of the sting of how much they cost.
Right. Yeah. No, very true.
Yeah. And they're great, grandparent birthday gift idea or whatever.
Exactly.
Good. So Legos, huge. What else have you found that kids this age enjoy?
So my little kids love those Orb Factory sticky mosaic activities, but kids sort of outgrow those. Like 8-9-year-olds, they don't want to do them. They seem babyish to them. So there are a bunch of books out there called Paint by Stickers, which is a similar concept, but it's different landscapes, animals, bunch of different things. And there's a variety of different shapes and color size stickers, and they basically paint a picture using these stickers. It requires a lot of patience, and this is a good activity to do with a parent. It's matching. So each sticker has a number, and then you have to find that number on the paper. And after they're done, they can frame it. They're really cool looking. So it's working on that fine motor manipulation and grasping, visual motor skills, hand-eye coordination, like all those huge things.
Right. And it's nice to have something when you're finished that you can show off, and it's a little different from painting because you have to manipulate those tiny little stickers.
Right. You have to make sure it's not upside down. So and I think that the kids really feel good about themselves when they finish them.
One of the things that you mentioned on your blog I thought would be appealing to kids like my son who plays hockey. So you have a desktop hockey game.
Yes,
so tell us about that one.
Okay, so Fat Brain Toys, which is like one of my favorite websites ever, has a bunch of these like desktop sports sets. They have a basketball one, a croquet set, but I am living with a huge hockey fan, so the hockey one was of particular interest to me. But it's just a mini hockey set. It comes with a playing mat, 2 goalies pads that you put your fingers in, and hockey sticks and pucks. Mm-hmm. So it takes up very little room. They cost about $6. I'm sure shipping and handling is more expensive than the actual product, but it really works those little muscles. Mm-hmm. Hands, again, working on hand-eye coordination. It's a great social skills activity because you have to do it with somebody else.
Right.
And it's a great social thing just because kids, when you find a mutual interest, whether it be in a TV show or a sport, you can bond and just improve overall social skills.
Right. And it's probably pretty portable, I would guess.
Yes. It's very portable. I mean, you can probably carry it in your purse if you're going to dinner or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Maybe just one more thing that you have found that you recommend for kids.
Sure. So I remember these when I was younger. We called them fortune tellers. They now are called cootie catchers, but it's basically like an origami kind of paper fortune telling thing where you fold a piece of paper and then there's messages and predictions and all of that. Mm-hmm. And I remember playing with them for hours and hours when I was younger, doing it with friends. It's the actual folding and everything is great for finger strength. Again, another great social activity. There's a book by Klutz called mm-hmm. the Cootie Catcher book, and that comes with 22 pre-printed fold-out cootie catchers that you have to put together. Mm-hmm. It's easy enough to do at home with just a simple piece of paper and make your own. So it's great for you can then work on your strength and endurance for coloring and drawing and writing by making your own.
Mm-hmm. And then once you've made them, you have to use your fingers to manipulate them and move them around, right?
Right. Open and close your fingers. It's great for like just that fine motor planning, like knowing which way to move it to when you're playing with your friend.
Mm-hmm. And having the book is a nice little head start.
Yes, absolutely.
Because I know I used to make them all the time, but I don't remember how to do it anymore. So
yeah,
I would need a book to get me started or a YouTube video or something.
Yeah.
Good. Well, great. Thank you so much, Meghan, for all these good suggestions for manipulative and fine motor strengthening toys for kids. We really appreciate hearing from you, and we will talk to you again in a month or so. Thanks, Meghan.
No problem. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And now for our final segment today, we are going to do a little shameless self-promotion and direct you to some of the things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. Terry, what can you recommend for us this week?
Well, I put together a roundup for the Friendship Circle blog of 12 little video clips from Speechless that capture those I've been there moments for parents of kids with special needs. Cool. And that is up on the blog. I will have a link for it. If you are looking to spend, 10 or 15 minutes procrastinating for more important things you should be doing, it should be very enjoyable to just go through and click on all those little clips and nod your head and say, oh yeah.
Good. Thank you. Catherine, how about you?
Also, if you're into procrastinating and want to find new things to do with your spare time that don't involve generally the internet, then I have a piece up on readersdigest.com about how to find a hobby and also why you might want to do that because there are some good reasons. So I recommend that. Check it out.
Great. Thank you. And I haven't had anything up on my blog in ages, but lately I've been spending more time on LinkedIn and taking advantage of some of the features over there. So if you want to look me up on LinkedIn, I'm at Nicole Eridix, and let's connect.
All right. That is it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you enjoyed it and that you will join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download them from iTunes. Please subscribe so that you get all our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter, where I am at Momitude, Nicole is at Nicole Eridix, and Catherine is at C. Haleko. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Roundabout Chat and look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram too. Best of all, stop by our podcast page at parentingroundabout.com, where you can read recaps, find links on all the stories we mentioned, and talk back in the comments. Thanks to John Moran for providing our in and out music, and I wish everybody a great week.